If your local junkie began evolving into a Wendigo and forced his malnourished kid to bring meat-only bento boxes home to fuel his transformation, what would you do? Julia's looking for a project, another person she can save to quiet the demons within. As luck would have it, someone else in town is struggling with way worse and far more bloodthirsty demons than she is. One of her students, Lucas, is quietly feeding the local wildlife, the writhing putrefied shape formerly known as his father. As Lucas slowly goes insane, it'll be up to Julia and her in-over-his-head sheriff brother to save him before it's too late. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the Wendigo in Antlers. Our story begins with a Native American warning about the dangers of a malevolent woodland cryptid from native lore that preys on the vulnerable. So, of course, we're going to watch a bunch of white people try to deal with it. At a shutdown mine, a addled father Frank tells his 7-year-old son Aiden to wait in the car and watch his while he dons a gas mask, lights a flare, and descends into the labyrinth of to meet the guy cooking what he's selling. They're just finishing up for the evening when something screeches and gurgles in the dark. They abandon their lab and Frank lights another flare. Just down the tunnel, they come to a bend where someone has hung dozens of curious bundles from the ceiling. The creature's wailing grows louder until it finally attacks. Well, at least he was armed. Fat load of good it did him. Without good lighting or night vision goggles, you're at the mercy of any animal that can see well in the dark.
Daddy?
It's just a shame it was Bring Your Son to the Set of Breaking Bad Day. This little town in Oregon that's about to be plagued by monsters was dying long before Daddy Rotten Teeth wandered into the wrong abandoned mine. Julia, the overworked, underpaid, and PTSD-suffering school teacher, can barely generate enthusiasm from any of her students, but particularly Lucas, who looks so malnourished and worn down from bullying, he's the size of someone half his age. And school is the good part of his day. After school, he kills a skunk and brings it home, where the attic door is triple locked and one of those bundles from the mines hangs from the door jamb. Julia notices something's off with Lucas immediately. His rib and hip bones protrude during a nurse checkup. He's constantly dirty, and the story he tells in class is a little too Brothers Grimm meets John Steinbeck for her tastes. Lucas tells everyone a Big Bear, Little Bear, and Baby Bear struggled after Big Bear lost his job, and one day, Big Bear and Baby Bear came home different, sick, aggressive, and hungry for flesh. But at least they had each other. Julia tries calling his house, but Big Bear is a little too busy to come to the phone. Turns out, Julia's kind of been jonesing for a pet project to keep her mind off the rest of her depressing life. Not judging, I mean, whatever keeps you sane. Just maybe not a hobby that routinely has you invading the personal space of a cursed child. Suspicious that Lucas and his brother are being abused, Julia follows him through town. She sees him staring at ice cream and buys him some while soft interrogating him for information about his home life. The thing is, Lucas is like a veteran stuck in the body of a 6th grader who only looks like a clueless toddler. Seriously, this kid is 12. 12. They bond briefly over the loss of their moms, but when the questions get too close to his dad and brother, he cuts her off.
And don't follow me this time.
Of course, that only triggers Julia's Good Samaritan kink even more. While Lucas detours to pick up a roadkill fox, Julia goes to his house. It looks completely derelict and abandoned. She knocks, and the door is opened by itself. Gruff, muffled growling is loud enough to be heard through the house, which, rightfully so, scares her away. Lucas embraces his inner Bear Grylls and prepares the roadkill. He dons a miner's helmet and enters the attic with the fox nuggets and some apples from the dumpster served in a to-go container. Authentic local cuisine and upcycled, no-waste produce. Someone give him a Michelin star.
Not cooked.
Not cooked.
No, it's not cooked. Not cooked.
His brother Aiden is only slightly less feral, and Lucas promises to bring more for him when he can, but he's driven from the attic when his dad starts aggressively barking again. He flees beyond the safety of the locked attic door, relocking everything carefully. Julia asks her brother Paul, the local sheriff, about Lucas's dad. Paul says Frank has OD'd so many times, he's half the reason Paul has to bulk order the opioid overdose nasal spray Narcan. He tells her that because Lucas and Aiden have no one else to take care of them, Protective Services left them with their dad, even though Frank is well known to sell and use. Julia tries to tell him something's happening at the boy's house, but he just warns that she can't go there again. What she hears is that she needs to get creative with her snooping. She goes through Lucas's desk at school and finds a copy of the Bible, a trapping technique book, and a book about native spirits. She tries to get Principal Booth to investigate, only to hear that it isn't uncommon for parents who cook illegal products to keep their kids out of school to sell product for them or to avoid getting caught because their kids smell like cat rotten eggs. Outside the grocery store, Julia overhears Paul talking to the former sheriff, Warren, who tells him he stumbled upon a ravaged body out in the woods. When Lucas goes to check on his brother, Aiden asks if God is dead. Lucas tries to feed him human food, but it only makes Aiden ill. Black blood begins to seep from his eyes and pour from his mouth. At the morgue, Paul, his deputy, and Warren examine the body of Frank's armed buddy from the mine. Looks like what happened to Tom Cruise's body when that alien bled acid blood all over him in Edge of Tomorrow. The coroner tells them he can't conclusively identify the cause of death, but warns that certain bite marks on the radial bones look like they were made by human teeth. Paul seems overwhelmed, but former Sheriff Warren looks like he knows exactly what did this. You want to share with the class now, or after this thing's killed a few more people? I guess it's too late for that. Principal Booth heads over to talk with Frank while Lucas is at school. She finds the house door open and calls out, but no one responds. She enters to the stench of rotten meat, so strong she nearly vomits. How about we dial those 3 little numbers on her phone that'll summon reinforcements to our location, like a home invasion Uber Eats? Nah, why do that when we could find a dead body of a kid that'll haunt our nightmares for the rest of our lives? Instead of continuing to call out for the house's residents, Nancy Drew here wanders upstairs until she spots the locked attic door and decides to investigate. As you do when you enter a dark, lifeless house that smells like death. You know what I'm gonna say. Mind your business, and it won't become your business. Frank attacks from behind so fast, there's nothing she could have done to prepare for it, other than surveying the entire attic quickly for hidden threats first before talking to Aiden. Remember, there is a reason flight attendants tell you to secure your own mask before helping others. You can't help anybody if you're dead. The bigger issue here is that the fight is over the second he bites her. Frank wants to feed, and every Wendigo instinct curdling inside his mangy, misshapen head is telling him to feed. But a single bite ends any chance of survival Principal Booth has, whether she escapes or not. The same as it would be if it was a zombie. Our survival chances here dwindle second by second from the moment we enter the house. There's no way to know that something this dark and terrifying is lurking inside, but that's sort of the point. If this is the house of a trigger-happy, stand-your-ground guy, you're dead. If he's actually abusing his kids and finds you snooping, you're dead. If he has an attack dog, you're dead. It doesn't matter whether this is a wild animal or an animal of the human variety. You're gonna want to bring a weapon and loudly call out from the door, then all the way across the lower level, just in case they need a moment to react. If no one answers, either they're not there or they're waiting for you to make a very stupid decision. If she had just waited a few seconds, Frank would have probably begun to growl, just as he has every time someone gets near the house. Then she'd know it's time to retreat and call Van Helsing on the way back to civilization. I'm pretty sure that thing crawled through the lava acids and up the bowels of Tartarus, between the sinewy torn bits of skin pulled taut across the bloody gaping neck wound of a night terror to grace us with this cursed image that would have made Lovecraft blush. Or, this is what it's like to chew 5 gum. Paul, his deputy, and Warren arrive at the closed mine and discover the bundles hanging from the ceiling. Warren tells Paul they're medicine bags, wards for defense. Paul asks him why they're there, and Warren gives him this look. Dude, that festering resentment you feel about not being the main character in a Wendigo movie is totally understandable. You should be the main character, but this is not the time to be petty. You know the Wendigo is a malevolent aberration of humanity, a cannibalistic monster symbolizing gluttony and greed, never satisfied with feasting on a single piece of human prey, but always insatiable for more. You know that means they aren't picky. You should be sharing, Warren. You should want to share before it's too late and someone you care about accidentally walks into the path of the monster and gets torn to pieces. Or worse, gets infected by it. Paul receives a call about a missing person and they leave, without Warren telling them anything about what might be lurking in the dark. On his way home, Lucas takes a shortcut and runs into his bully from school. Lucas turns to backtrack when something makes a musical growling noise above them. Well, thanks for looking out, forest demon. I'd say it's time to get out of here. Lucas abandons the bully to his fate and runs back to his condemned house. When he arrives, he sees a car in the driveway and a trail of bloody hoof scuffs in the upstairs hallway. Lucas hides in the principal's car and scrubs the blood from the walls. Meanwhile, Paul tells Julia about the principal's disappearance, and she reveals that she asked the woman to speak to Lucas's dad. Paul and his deputy arrive in the dead of night to confront Frank. They say the place smells like death, but they'll have to get a warrant and return in the morning. I'm torn here. Coming all the way out here in the middle of the night is so proactive, I'm almost impressed. Almost. But then you smell death and decide to wait until morning? A woman is missing and 2 kids are supposed to be living in this derelict skeleton of a house that doesn't have power or running water. The scent of decomposition so strong you can smell it through the locked door. And that's not enough reason to wake up a judge for a warrant? Cowards. In the morning, the bully's disappearance makes headlines. Paul tells a teacher that these multiple disappearances are probably just coincidence. But of course, Julia isn't convinced. She drives up to Lucas's house and uncovers the car herself. I mean, brave, but so dumb. You know, not 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 people are now missing. And 3 that you know of are directly connected to the people in this very house. Do you want to be the 5th? Why don't you walk right up and ring the doorbell with your useless unarmed hands, you idiot? At least it's enough probable cause for the police to investigate. Inside, they find some crazy
God Almighty. Jesus Christ.
the principal's ravaged skin sack, and the cicada-like human husk of Lucas's dad. When Lucas comes home, Julia and Paul force him to go to the hospital where the doctor tells them Lucas is basically the precursor to Dexter, so traumatized and psychologically damaged that he wants to put the kid on antipsychotics. Sounds smart, as we flash back to Frank's de-evolution and quickly watch Lucas lose his little mind. Talk about generational trauma. Maybe you should have left him behind when you started feeling like you wanted to tear your own kid's arms off and eat them like turkey legs, Frank. Paul and Julia finally go to visit Warren to discuss Lucas's drawings, and he finally tells them about the Wendigo.
A cautionary tale to the indigenous people who believe in it. Can only kill it when it's in its weakened state, extinguishing its beating heart.
Wouldn't this have been valuable information about 24 hours ago, Warren? You know, before Frank got a taste for school principal? And would somebody please ask the obvious question about that little caveat at the end of his speech? Another host? Meaning, it can never truly be killed. Is it like Samara from The Ring and we've got to pass it along to someone else to get rid of it? Also, do the medicine bags work? Can we make a bunch for everyone in the town to wear around their necks like a cowbell well, until we can cut out this thing's heart. Is it likely to come into town at all? So many questions. Can we set a trap for it, like a punji pit or one of those cages they use to catch strays, if we made it moose-sized out of titanium? Does it need human flesh, or would a cow work? Can we poison the flesh to knock the thing out? Would electric shock stop its heart? Would fire? Can it swim? Warren might not have answers, but if we don't ask questions, then we're going in blind. On the drive back, a call comes in about the bully kid's body. The coroner says something ate him in half. Sounds like we're gonna need more medicine bags, and all the Burt Gummer guns we can get our hands on. Maybe a couple semi-automatic rifles, pump actions, an Uzi or two, a couple Magnum Desert Eagles, and of course, a double-barreled 8-gauge elephant gun. Julia and Paul take Lucas into their house and do jack all to prepare for the possibility that the thing in Lucas's attic might come looking for him. Paul's deputy is assigned to wander the perimeter, looking like a mall cop trying to earn a promotion. Julia tries to tell Lucas his dad has died, that they found his shell back in his house. But Lucas is convinced that that was just his old dad, who was mean to him. This is his new dad, and he can earn his dad's love with a few Sweeney Todd meat pies.
He'll come for me and take me to the mine to be with Aiden.
I know he's traumatized, but he's also our best source of information about what we're dealing with. So, the second I hear this, I'm calling Paul faster than I can gather all the kitchen knives and Paul's additional weapons to my side, and telling him to call every veteran and hunter in this side of the state to head our way. Instead, Deputy Dip listens to the screeches of the Wendigo in the forest and walks out to make friends. Real quick, is wandering toward the death sound standard police procedure for cougar or bear encounters? Of course it's not. So where are you going? Get inside and engage the barricade protocol until reinforcements can arrive. I mean, it probably won't help. This thing is built like a tank reindeer. But that's not really the point. At least inside, you've got an optimistic 35% survival rate. Out here, that percentage drops to 0. He calls out for Paul and tells him there's something in the shed. Then he continues walking toward the thing he suspects of ripping several people apart and eating them without drawing a service weapon. He finds Aiden hiding in a box on the floor. Such an obvious trap lure. Back inside, Julia forgets her phone on the table and retreats to the study, where she finds all of Paul's other guns have locks on them. Lucas waits until her back is turned to run. Paul arrives wearing Kevlar with his gun drawn. He sees his deputy's lifeless body and falls for the same trap. This time, his plot armor saves him from immediate death, at least momentarily. Bet you believe in Wendigos now, Paul. Julia emerges onto the front lawn to find it silent and empty. She enters the shed and partially bandages Paul, telling him her plan to go to the mine to find Aiden. Admirable, but maybe do that after you take his internally bleeding to a hospital. Instead, she drives to the mine, calls for an ambulance, gives no status update on her intentions to actually enter the mine to save the missing kids, and leaves him to bleed out in his own patrol car. Then, she takes his standard issue gun and a single flashlight and ventures into the Wendigo's den. No. I've seen The Descent, and those things were way less scary than this root giant that clearly killed the devil and is wearing his horns as a souvenir. She finds Lucas and Aiden in the best, worst cryptid North America has to offer. The Wendigo turns, wearing Frank's torn face like a mask. It warbles like a ghoul in the middle of an elk, and it's shaped like a deer triceratops with wasting disease. Its skeletal form towers over her, and its exposed chest glows red. She fires 2 shots at it before getting knocked aside, which is brave, but then she fires wildly in all directions, like there aren't 2 kids nearby she came here to save. I mean, that's literally the only reason you entered this den of depravity, isn't it? Well, you're gonna turn on that light in a few seconds to find 2 dead kids and a very alive, angry old god rampaging towards you. As it stalks toward her, she finds a flare on the floor and sets it alight, driving it back. See, fire would have been a great deterrent, if only we'd known that a couple days ago. Julia gets her hands on a pipe and jabs. She hits it several times in the chest bone, but can't seem to penetrate before she finally slams the pipe home into its throat. The beast pulls it out and stumbles forward. It wasn't quite enough to finish it off for good. Suddenly, Lucas stabs it from behind with his knife, and it collapses to the floor. Before it can move, Julia jumps in for the kill. The heart burns her hands as she rips it from the Wendigo's still warm, dead chest. Unfortunately, the threat isn't over yet. A childish wail cuts the silence. Lucas begs her not to hurt his brother, but she convinces him it's for the best. She embraces Aiden and kills him, while Lucas shuts out the sound of his last living relative being mercy killed and quietly loses his mind. In the days after, Julia decides to keep Lucas with them, despite Paul's warning that he's too broken to be saved. She remains hopeful, accidentally or willfully ignoring the suspicious smudge of something that looks like dark bile on his lip. Paul begins to cough. As he realizes he's hacking up the same dark substance, the movie ends. In the epilogue of this thing, Julie is forced to kill her brother before the pain and loss of doing so condemns her to the same fate, which ultimately destroys Lucas too. Frank and Aiden were doomed from the start, but a little bit of planning and open-mindedness might have saved everyone except Principal Booth from his grisly fate. The best way to approach this series of vicious attacks is to treat the beast like an actual beast, like an above-average intelligence animal seeking its prey. A carefully laid trap, probably involving fire and the use of several 8-gauge shotgun shells or elephant tranks, could have incapacitated it long enough to remove its heart. The problem is both a lack of information and a disbelief that keeps everyone impotent. Warren absolutely withheld information far longer than he should have, and for no genuinely good reason, considering everyone is potential prey to a Wendigo. But you don't have to believe it's a Wendigo to believe a creature is killing townies en masse. Supernatural or not, it's a living, breathing beast that can be caught and killed just like any other forest predator. For that reason, I think Antlers was beaten. And remember, life lesson number 237, don't cook meth in a mine full of flammable fumes or cannibalistic monsters.